Sega CD game
Yeah.
that we'll probably review in this entire show.
Yeah. All right, let me make
Uh,
sure this is all right. When we have sound, sweet. I love it
cool.
when things work like they're supposed to.
It's like that old saying, I love it when a plan comes together.
Need a big fat cigar when you say that.
Yeah.
I love it when a plan comes together.
Comes together.
Ain't gonna get on
All
no
right.
plane, fool.
I ain't get on a plane.
Dude, that was sad today when I read about the guy that I put it in the news about the Konami Code guy dying.
Yeah, I read about that a little while ago.
And the
Let's
Sonic the
see.
Hedgehog movie, how much it's grossed so far. I think we
Mm-hmm.
may hit the mark on what close to what we both said. Because I mean, it's only been out for 2 weeks and it's already over halfway to our prediction.
I was hoping that a sequel would be announced before
I
Tuesday
know, really? Like,
because
why
I
not?
want to because I'm doing the live review for it and I want to break that
Yeah,
like as it happens.
that'd
But
be so cool. I've been waiting
yeah,
for it. Like, why have they not announced it? That's just stupid.
I watched it. Yeah, I went and watched it for a second time, and then so you know that joke I told you about Steve, where
Yeah.
like I was gonna reenact that scene. If I have time tomorrow, I'm gonna actually make that video where I'm gonna replace Robotnik's face with mine, and the generals with Steve,
That's so awesome.
and then I'm gonna send it. Like Steve's not gonna get it at
No,
all because I don't
he
think
has.
he's.
I doubt he's seen it.
Oh no, I have zero doubt that he hasn't seen it just because I know they've been slammed with Pensacon stuff.
Oh, I'm sure. I don't envy him this time of the year.
No, no, I do not. Especially because I mean they had the comedy festival, which was only a month
I
ago,
know. They're
and then
crazy.
dive like that's something that I admire about Steve is he just keeps doing stuff.
It's like the Energizer Bunny, man. Like
I
he has a
know.
regular job, and then he does all this other stuff like Pensacon and the comedy festival, and he can't make that much money off of doing that stuff. Like I'm sure he gets
No,
paid, but it can't be worth that hassle.
I would bet he probably doesn't make that much at his day job either. I mean, I don't know
I'm
that
sure
for a
his
fact,
I'm
but
sure his day job is way more pay than what he gets for doing all this other stuff.
oh, for sure. Let me share this on my personal page.
Well, I've pretty much got everything up and ready to go. So whenever
Yeah,
you
I've got
give
all the
me the
tabs open and everything. All right, that's shared. So let me close out the Facebook. Yeah, I've got all the tabs open. So
just check
yeah, I'm ready when you are, my friend.
check Twitch one more time, make sure everything's good. All right, everything is good. No, I don't want to go to full screen. Stop it. All right, here we go. All right, here we go. In three, two, one. Do you like this show and you want to help support us? Do you want us to stay ad free? Do you want extra episodes every month? Of course you do. Well, then head over to patreon.com/nerdcaveretro and to become a Patreon supporter of this very show. Greetings, programs, and welcome back to another edition of the Nerd Cave Retro Show. My name is Jason Robbins,
And my name is Derek Diamond.
and we're inching ever closer, ever closer to Pensacon 2020.
Oh crap, is that this
It's
weekend?
this weekend.
Oh boy.
Starts when this episode drops. It will be it'll start in like 30 hours.
I know. It's in all seriousness, it's pretty insane. I know we talked about it a little bit when you recorded a segment for my show that'll be out tomorrow as well.
Speaking of
Uh,
that, I don't know if you
oh, go
want to
ahead.
reveal what your show is about tomorrow, But
Yeah, no, I can go ahead and do that.
yes,
So
please.
I had Jason Robbins on the podcast to talk about Tron because we're getting closer to the 40-year anniversary of Tron. I think it's the
Crazy.
38-year anniversary this year. But I wanted to do that for two reasons. One, there's going to be a big Tron reunion at Pensacon. They're going to do a Q&A with the I think 3 or 4 cast members that are there. And then afterwards they're going to show the film. The second reason is because in the second half of the Derek Diamond Experience, you will hear my conversation with Yori herself, Cindy Morgan,
Mm-hmm.
will be on the show. And little trivia fact, and I don't think I've ever even told you this. So back when we first started doing the Nerd Cave back in 2013, we went to this other convention. It wasn't Pensacon because Pensacon wasn't around yet. It was this small con at the Pensacola Fairgrounds. And there, one of the guests was Cindy Morgan.
Oh yeah.
So technically, she is the very first celebrity I've ever interviewed.
Oh, nice. I didn't even know that.
So it was a nice little reunion. So she talks about the making of Tron, and what was equally as fun. So she was also in Caddyshack, which is the 40-year anniversary of that movie's this year.
Wow.
That was her very first movie she ever did.
I didn't know that either.
And she said the set is about as crazy as you would think it would be.
I can only imagine.
And she tells some stories, but you'll have to listen to the podcast to hear those.
That's cool. We talked about Tron when we recorded my segment for the show, and then last night I got really wanted to watch Tron again, so I fired it up on Disney Plus and watched.
Doesn't it look great?
Oh my gosh, it looks so good. You can see so many things. Like even I got the 30th anniversary, or was it the 20th anniversary DVD set, and back in the early 2000s, and man, even that doesn't look as good as the HD version that they have on Disney Plus. And man, that movie's good, and it holds up like crazy.
It really does, and that's something that, because I remember the very first time I watched it, I felt like it moved a bit slow, but I don't think that anymore.
No.
Like I actually really like, and I like Legacy too, but there's something about that original Tron movie
Yeah.
that just makes me respect it, and I think it's because of all the crap that they had to do to pull that off back then.
I can't imagine what they had to do to make that movie look the way it did. Like, just the computer animation itself looks so good, and just to think, like, they couldn't even see what the computer animators couldn't even see what they were doing. Like, it was just all code, and they didn't see it until it was rendered, and it was like, oh, okay, that's what it looks like.
Yeah, it makes you very grateful for what we have today.
But man, that movie's so good. I want to go back and watch Legacy again. And
yeah, I watched Legacy after we had our conversation the other day.
And
Legacy's still good.
Did you ever go check out the what was the name of the cartoon again?
Uprising.
Uprising. Did you ever get a chance
Not
to
yet,
look at that?
but it is on my agenda for next week after Pensacon.
Cool. I think you'll really like it because it really is very, very underrated.
Yeah, funny enough, an IT guy came by my work the other day, and he brought up Pensacon, and I mentioned about the whole Cindy Morgan interview, and he's like, "Yeah, Tron's like one of my favorite movies of all time." So we talked about Tron for like 10 minutes while he was installing my new computer.
So amazing that they're all going to be there. I'm going to be geeking out all over them.
I know it's going to be cool. Like, there's actually like a lot of. If you look at the guest list for Pensacon, it's not as big as years past, but I think they went for quality over quantity.
Dude, they just added Edward James Olmos the other day.
I know.
I'm like, what?
Yeah, because they lost, I think, 2 or 3 people.
Yeah.
But, Mike Inslee pulled a miracle out again, so
like, oh my
props
God.
props to them.
I saw that and I was like, no way. Like, that's nuts.
It's going to be a really fun convention, and we went over it last week, but at the end of the show we'll go over our guest or panel itinerary again.
Yeah, because by the time this episode drops, you have 24 hours left before the convention starts. So better get your
Yep.
tickets now.
Yes. Yes. So how's your week been other than watching Tron?
It's been going okay. Just working and haven't really felt like doing much comedy this week. So I've been kind of laying low, resting up, getting ready for Pensacon because I know it's going to be a tiring weekend. I mean, it's going to be fun, but it's definitely going to be tiring. So I'm just kind of resting up before the madness happens.
Well, you definitely have to rest before the McGuire's trip.
Oh yeah, I've been trying to stretch the stomach out so I can fit another 18-pound burger in my stomach.
Got to clear out some stomach space.
But anything else you want to talk about before we go into the news?
No, I mean my week's just been prepping for Pensacon. With all the panels that I got to do, make sure I've got everything lined up and everything. And I will give this little tease. This is the one thing I will say about defending bad movies. The magic number of choices is 80.
80 movies?
Yes.
Wow.
I will say this because I know he's listening. Brandon Rutledge, you have no idea what you're in for.
So what was your criteria for picking movies? Was it just, did you look up worst movie lists, or did you go by IMDb ratings, or what?
I did both.
Okay. So you kind of did a cross-reference.
So I did throw in a few of the same from last year because I know we've got quite a few new people on the panel.
Yeah.
And then some that weren't used for the comedy festival I threw in as well. So because I still had the like little sheets of paper that I print out. So luckily those most of them were still in the hat. So I just pulled those out and added them to the list. But no, we will not run out of movies.
Fantastic.
I can promise you that.
I am so looking forward to that. That's my most looked forward to thing at Pensacon.
I would agree with that.
So if you guys, any of you listening are going to Pensacon, you want to be there for the Defending Bad Movies panel because it's going to be epic this year.
Saturday night, prime time, baby.
Prime time, baby. And on that note, we're going to go ahead and move into the news. Let's see, what's his name? How do you pronounce his name? This is from NPR.com. Everybody knows the most famous cheat code of all time, the Konami code. The creator was Kazuhisa Hashimoto. I guess that's how you pronounce that. He passed away.
Sounds good to me.
He was the man who invented the Konami code cheat that became pervasive in video gaming and pop culture. To use the code, players will press up, up, down, down, left, right, B, A, and the start button on the controller to make games easier. It was named after the popular Japanese gaming and entertainment company Konami, where Hashimoto worked. Konami confirmed Hashimoto's death in an email to NPR and said in a tweet that it was saddened to hear the news. His age has been variously reported as 61 to 79. So I don't think anybody really knows how old he was, but it seems he was somewhere in that range.
Well, when you think of the Konami code, you think of just an iconic piece of video game history.
Yeah.
Especially from that time, because you think of that code, you don't just use it wasn't just used for games. I've seen it on shirts, I've seen it on bumper stickers, I've seen it on coffee mugs. I've seen it on so many pieces of memorabilia. Like this is something that extends beyond just video games.
Yeah.
Even casual gamers from that time know the Konami code. So, in his own small way, he created a very big and timeless piece of video game history.
Yeah.
That will live forever.
And, they use it in everything. I mean, it was used in Wreck-It Ralph.
Yep.
It's been in movies. And, of course, I think the game, it was actually created for Gradius. But and I think he said, it said something here. He is credited for work on at least 9 video games. He created the code when he was in charge of taking the arcade version of the spacecraft shooting game Gradius and converting it for the NES in '86. He said he hadn't played it that much and obviously couldn't beat it, so he put in the Konami code. because he was the only one who was going to be using it. He made sure it was easy to remember. And I remember famously using this code. I think the one game that most everyone used it for was Contra. I think that was the game that really put it into the pop cultural pantheon.
Yeah, I personally never used the code, but it's something that I definitely remember from my younger days.
Yeah,
So it's like I said, it's a piece of video game legend that it will be remembered for the end of time. As long as video games are around,
yeah.
people will remember the Konami code. So
Well, it's just
rest in
the
peace,
code
code.
itself. I mean, like this has been told 1,000 times, but it turned Contra from the hardest game you've ever played to the easiest game you've ever played. Like, if I play Contra without the Konami code, I would be, dead in 5 minutes, like just game over. But with the Konami code, I can actually beat the game in less than 30 minutes. And that's
Yeah,
how I streamed it when I beat it. I put in the Konami code. You pretty much just go straight through the game with that code because you pretty
yeah,
much never die.
yeah.
But yeah, he will be missed, and like I said, that code is burned into the pop cultural lexicon forever. I think.
Oh, for sure, definitely. But our next story comes to us from KeenGamer.com, and I believe this is a follow up on something we talked about not too long ago.
Hmm.
Numbskull Games picks up Kickstarter hack and slash retro gaming hit Battle Axe for consoles and PC. Launched on the 28th of January, Battle Axe has smashed through its goal of 40,000 pounds, I believe
Hmm.
that's what that symbol is for,
Yeah,
and has now reached over 49,000 with 7 days to go at the time of writing. That is fantastic.
I know.
Battle Axe's lead designer, Henk Nieborg, has partnered up with dedicated publisher of indie titles Numbskull Games to bring the 80s and 90s inspired hack and slash adventure to a wider audience. And it says here in the headline, it is being made for the Switch, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, PC, Mac, and Linux.
I'm
Which
definitely excited for this game. I don't know about you.
I might have mentioned this when we talked about it a couple of weeks ago. The look of it makes me think if Secret of Mana were made today,
Yeah,
it would look exactly like this. So just for the look alone, I'm sold on it. I definitely think this is something that when it comes out, we should get it and do a co-review of it.
yeah. It's definitely got that cartoonish. It's got a real Blizzard vibe to it, almost like
Mm-hmm.
it's got a real Torchlight vibe to it. Imagine if they used a Torchlight skin on a Gauntlet game.
Yeah. It also says here that Battle Axe is being developed by a small but highly experienced team. There's also the legendary composer Manami Matsume, who composed Mega Man, Final Fight, and Shovel Knight,
Oh yeah,
and programmer Mike Tucker, who worked on Super House of Dead Ninjas and Xenocrisis.
yeah. I forgot all about the composer. I meant to put that actually look that up. I'm glad this was in the article because I heard about this the other day. That composer Matsume. I mean, he did the Mega Man music and Final
Hmm.
Fight, and Final Fight's still some of my favorite music on the Super Nintendo.
Well, I think that adds instant credibility to this.
Oh, absolutely. I'm
But
excited for this game. It looks so
I'm really
cool.
looking forward to it. It says here that Battle Axe currently has an approximate release date to its platforms of Q1 2021. And you can check out their website for updates
And it looks
on
pretty
development.
like pretty far along too. So
Hmm.
hopefully now it's just they're going to spend the next year polishing it up and making it the best game it can be because it looks so cool. Like
Hmm.
if you're listening to this and you haven't checked it out yet, I mean, just look up Battle Axe gameplay. I'm sure you can find some YouTube vids because there's a couple here, and yeah, there's a game trailer for it on YouTube for Battle
Hmm.
Axe. Go check that out, and it's just got such a cool vibe to it.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. This will be like when it comes out, I'll get it pretty soon after its release.
Yeah, same here. Our next story comes from Destructoid.com. Sonic the Hedgehog movie has grossed over $210 million so far. Who would have thought it? It was already something of an odd undertaking to drop a Sonic the Hedgehog movie long after the character's peak popularity. Then there was the unforgettable controversy that followed the initial trailer, seemingly writing the project's epitaph. And yet here we are, just a fortnight after release, and Sonic the Hedgehog has grossed over $200 million USD to date. Let's see. It doesn't say anything. It says Carey has since noted that he would gladly return for a potential sequel, which, given the film's current momentum, seems inevitable. But we still have yet to get an announcement for Sonic 2, which I think is a little bit weird.
Yeah, I mean, it's been the #1 movie at the box office the last 2 weeks. It's absolutely exceeded expectations. And it says here it didn't wow critics, but fans have loved it. And you called this, and I'll give you full credit on it. I think the word of mouth has helped this movie since its release, because when I went, because I saw it again late last week, and the theater was decently packed when I was there. I went, like, I think late Friday night, and there was a pretty good crowd there.
And honestly, there's not much competition for it this coming up weekend either. So I think it's going to have a pretty good weekend coming up again for its third weekend. And I think that's going to easily push it over the 300 million mark after this weekend worldwide.
I think so too. The point that really stands out to me about this article is that this was released a long time after Sonic's popularity.
Yeah.
Because Sonic has not been relevant in a very long time. So the fact that this movie came out, I think it's the combination of people initially went to see it, one, out of curiosity, and two, I like to think it's because Paramount actually listened to the fans and changed the design. And then from there, word of mouth has helped keep the momentum going.
Not only that, but it's just a good family movie too. You know, it's perfect for kids.
It is, and it's something that I think adults can enjoy too, because it's not a very complicated movie.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't stray very far from its initial point.
Yeah.
So it's easy to follow. And I like that it doesn't take itself very seriously.
Exactly.
Like it knows it's a silly video game movie.
And I think that's what makes it enjoyable to adults too, because it's not dumb. I mean, it's a dumb premise, but because they lean into it and they know it's dumb, it makes it enjoyable to make it a good popcorn movie. You know, you can take your kids to see it and you still get some enjoyment out of it as an adult, especially somebody, people our age that grew up with Sonic the Hedgehog.
And I'll be honest, I might try and go see this for a third time before it goes out of theaters.
Yeah, I still want to see it one more time before it leaves theaters.
I mean, I mentioned this last week when we did our in-depth review on it, but there's so many directions that they can go with a sequel.
Oh, absolutely.
And I do think the sequel, and I won't go too in-depth on it, but I do think the sequel will be more accurate to the games because of what is set up at the end.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Plus they'll dump a lot more money into it, so they can set it somewhere other than Earth.
And I've watched a couple of clips online, and God, Jim Carrey is just so great.
Oh yeah,
in this movie. It gave me flashbacks of watching like The Mask and Liar Liar, Ace Ventura, like when he was at his peak popularity.
Oh yeah.
It was so just like that. So I love Jim Carrey, and I loved him as Robotnik.
Oh yeah. Well, our next story is the feel good story of the night. So.
Oh, this was great. I fortunately I was able to read this before we started recording. But our last story comes to us from Forbes.com. 95-year-old grandmother's beloved Game Boy broke, so Nintendo found a replacement for free. A story in the Japanese national newsletter Asai Shimbun last week regarding a 95-year-old grandmother's broken Game Boy, and Nintendo's customer service trended heavily on Twitter, racking up nearly 198,000 likes and 67,000 retweets. So essentially, what happened, this woman's 70-year-old daughter recounts that the grandmother was a lifelong fan of Tetris on the 30-year-old Game Boy, but as her health waned, so too did her Game Boy's functionality. This being her third Game Boy, and with the device being discontinued in 2003, the family had difficulty finding anyone who could repair or replace it. But after her grandson mentioned Nintendo's divine customer service, the grandmother misheard it for paper and ended up penning a letter to send to Nintendo along with the broken handheld. Nintendo then got back within a week saying it couldn't repair the device as it didn't have the parts available, but that it had found a brand new one in one of its warehouses and was sending it to her post haste.
Can I pretend to be a 95-year-old grandmother and can I get a free brand new Game Boy in the box from Nintendo?
Uh, I'll be your grandson who writes the letter on behalf. And it says here the daughter closed a letter to the newspaper saying her mother passed away at the age of 99, but was mentally still aware until the end of her life and believes she was thankful for the support from Nintendo. So I will just say to Nintendo, bravo. That was great.
And it says here, just kind of as a side note, that Nintendo sold 119 million original Game Boys. It is still one of the most popular pieces of gaming hardware ever released. I think the only thing that's beaten it is the PlayStation 2, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy.
No, people love that Game Boy. I mean, it was just because you had so many people traveling to visit family or go on vacation, and that's primarily what I used the Game Boy for, was to play it on 3+ hour car rides. I didn't have siblings to play with, so I had to entertain myself.
Could you imagine if you went back in time to your 5-year-old self, or me to my 10-year-old self, and had a Game Boy, but you go back in time with the Nintendo Switch and say, hey, play this. Blow my mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, what is this? Witchcraft. Witch.
What am I holding right now? This isn't Super Mario World. No, actually it is. Here, go to the eShop.
Oh, and if you're looking for any Nintendo Switch or any kind of gaming accessories, dude, I found the shop. My girlfriend took me to the shop called what was it called? Five Below. Yeah, it's a place called Five Below, and everything in the store is $5 and under, and they had so much gaming stuff in there, like
Really?
charging stations for the Switch. They had all kind of accessories for the Switch, PlayStation 4, Xbox. They had gaming, keyboards, like headsets, everything in there. But all that stuff was like, I think around $5 to $10 because it was electronics. But man, everything there was cheap. It was just like, I want this, I want this, I want this.
Funny you mentioned that. They actually opened a Five Below at the little shopping center that's like a block from my house.
Dude, go check it out. They have
So
a
I'll
bunch
have
of
to
gaming
check it out
stuff.
now. I have to do that after this weekend.
I was surprised.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome though.
But I'm ready to move into this month in video game history. February 12th of 1990, Nintendo releases the NES game Super Mario Bros. 3 in North America. It sells 17.28 million copies, making one of the best-selling standalone video games of all time.
One of the greatest, not just Mario games, but one of the greatest video games ever made.
And you can see how much I love Super Mario Bros. 3 since I have all the artwork behind me as my backdrop.
It's a familiar looking poster.
Yes, it is.
I have
Signed
that
by the.
exact same one hanging up in my living
We
room.
got him the same day. Signed by the voice of Mario himself.
Yes. Now I can't say enough good things about Mario Brothers 3, and I think it has probably the most iconic power up in Mario history, the raccoon leaf.
Oh yeah. Man, there's not much to dislike about Super Mario Brothers 3. We still have the debate which is better, Super Mario 3 or Super Mario World, and I think that's going to be a debate between me and you till the end of time. I'll be on my deathbed. 3 was better.
That might come up in our Nerd Cave Retro panel on
I
Sunday.
might actually put that in my will to have that on my tombstone. SMB 3 was better.
And you're the last thing you ever, because I mean, we might have like virtual reality text by that point,
Yeah.
but the last thing you send me will be that text
Yeah.
with you giving me the middle finger.
3 was better.
And I would love you for it if
Mm-hmm.
you did that. On February 14th, 1991, DMA Design releases Lemmings, a puzzle game that requires the player to lead a group of lemmings through a dangerous environment to an escape portal. I remember this game was featured in Nintendo
Mm-hmm.
Power at some point early on when I started collecting it. I never played it though.
I didn't either, but I remember this game had a crazy big marketing push. Like
Mm-hmm.
it was in everything. It was like you said, it was a Nintendo Power. It was all over the gaming magazines. It was advertised everywhere. And even then I had no desire to play this game. I don't know why. I've never played it to this day.
No, it's one of those games that like I'm kind of curious about, but I'm also like, I'm not really in a huge rush to play it.
Yeah, I mean I have a ROM of it, which I might fire it up one of these days. I might do that soon, just to give it a whirl and see what it's like, and do a review of it.
Yeah. No, it's not a bad idea.
It might be one of those hidden gems that we missed and never played.
Yeah, you never know.
Let's see. In February 2nd of 1994, Sonic the Hedgehog 3 introduces Knuckles the Echidna. So do you think they're going to introduce Knuckles in the next Sonic the Hedgehog movie?
I was
Or
gonna
is
say
it
he
just
could
going to
be a
be
villain
Tails?
in the next. He could be a villain in the next Sonic movie.
Could be.
Because
Oops.
he did start out as a villain. In Sonic 3, he's actually a villain who shows up and will trolling is kind of the right word to say, but he will detour your progress
Oh, yeah.
throughout the game. So he's kind of an annoyance, but by the end, essentially he's tricked by Robotnik into thinking that Sonic's come to his island to steal the Chaos Emeralds. But of course, in the end, Knuckles turns good. He's actually one of the most popular characters
Yeah.
in the entire franchise. So I think if they do introduce him in the sequel, it's gonna be a big deal because people love them some Knuckles the Echidna. But
Oh, yeah.
Sonic 3 itself is a very good game. It's it was one that I played, quite a bit because you could actually alternate between you could play as the combo of Sonic and Tails or as Sonic or Tails individually,
I wonder why they didn't
which I
put
thought was a
Sonic
really cool
3
thing.
on the Genesis Mini.
I have no idea because Sonic 3 is really good. And then you had the Sonic and Knuckles aspect where you could plug the Sonic 3 cartridge
Yeah.
into Sonic and Knuckles and you have this one huge game where you can also then play as Knuckles was just great.
Yeah.
But Sonic 3 I can't say enough nice things about it. It's not as good as Sonic 2 in my opinion, but it's very close. But it's a very good game.
Yeah.
On February 24th, 1995, Squaresoft releases Front Mission for the SNES.
I do not remember this game.
I don't either,
Tactical.
but the cover art makes me think of Chrono Trigger
It does.
for some reason.
Yeah,
It was made by the same company, so
this is a tactical role playing game. A lot like trying to think of what this would be like.
I don't. Let's see. I see the overhead screenshot.
It almost looks like an RTS. Yeah,
Part of me wants to look up gameplay of this because this might be something I want to try out.
maybe.
'Cause
I've
I
never
didn't play
seen
too many
this.
games of this genre growing up, so it could be a whole new experience for me.
Maybe you should look up and see if you can find a ROM or something.
Yeah, I haven't seen this game in any store.
Yeah, because like I said, I was just gonna say I've never seen this game. I've never heard of it. This is the first I've ever heard of it.
And I mean, it's a Square title from that era, so I
Yeah.
can't imagine that it would be that bad. Who
Let's
knows?
see. February 13th of 1996, Atari Corporation announces a plan to merge with JTS Incorporated. And let's see what this is. It was a maker of inexpensive IDE hard drives for personal computers based in San Jose, California.
San Jose.
So even
when
with the
did
cash infusion from Atari, JTS quickly ran out of money. On February 24th or 23rd, 1998, JTS sold the Atari intellectual property to Hasbro for $5 million in cash. Later that year, they filed for Chapter 11 and converting involuntarily Chapter 7 on February 28th, 1999. So that's what happened to the Atari name.
I feel like Atari, if a nuclear attack happens, two things are going to survive: cockroaches and Atari. I feel like every week there's either a news article or when I'm pulling up gaming history, there's something to do with Atari.
Oh yeah.
Every single time.
We still haven't heard any kind of updates about the VCS. The last update we heard was that production was being ground to a halt because of the coronavirus.
Yeah, that thing is causing some problems.
Actually, I think that was just an excuse that they went with. They're like, "Oh, there's a virus."
Oh, that I have no doubt.
Yeah.
I mean, the coronavirus is. It's I've been hearing a lot about it.
Mm-hmm.
We'll just say that. Let's see. February 28th of 1997, Turok Dinosaur Hunter is released for the N64.
I loved Turok. That was such a good game.
Oh, Turok was just mindless fun.
But you go back and play it now, and it's like, ew, this is gross.
Was there an arcade version of Turok?
I don't know. I think so.
I feel like there was, or a game very similar to it, because I remember in University Mall there was a machine that was like Turok, but I can't remember if it was actually Turok. But you were chased by dinosaurs, and it was the most fun game at the arcade.
Let's see. I don't think. No, I don't see one.
It must have been something similar, but I remember dinosaurs were involved because you were like in a Jeep and you were being chased.
I think that was Jurassic Park.
Yeah, it might have been
Pretty
Jurassic
sure
Park.
that was the Jurassic Park arcade.
You're
game.
right. Yeah, it was Jurassic Park.
I still see those occasionally.
Scene.
I think there's one at the bowling alley. I'd love to go back and play like a remastered Turok. They should do that.
Oh, that reminds me, I was going to tell you this. So I don't know if it's the entire weekend, but I know for sure tomorrow at the bar/arcade play that's downtown, like down the road from Graffiti Pizza, where we've ate a couple of times.
Yeah.
They're doing a Mario Party for
Really?
Pensacon. I saw some pictures, and like the decorations are legit. Like they even have a giant pipe and everything in the bar.
We might have to make that.
I hope it's not just tomorrow, because otherwise, like if it's going on throughout the whole weekend, we got to check it out.
Oh yeah, if that's going on the whole weekend, we're going.
Yeah, absolutely.
See, almost to the end here. February 8th of 1999, Mario Party is released for the Nintendo 64.
So I didn't play Mario Party all that much when it initially came out, but I have had a drunken evening or two playing Mario Party.
I didn't know this was developed by Hudson Soft.
Mm-hmm.
Learn something new every day.
Mario Party games are fun.
Is it still developed by Hudson Soft? Is Hudson Soft still even a company?
That I am not sure of. Let's see, Mario Party 10.
Is that what we're up to now? 10?
It is not Hudson. It was developed by ND Cube.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to look up to see if Hudson Soft was still a company, but there's like a Wikipedia page about 3 miles long.
I forgot they did a Mario Party for the Switch. Super Mario Party.
Oh, is
I
there?
haven't played that one yet.
Hmm.
Yeah, it came out in October of 2018.
Man, I haven't played a Mario Party game in at least a decade and a half.
It's been a while for me too. But they're fun though.
Yeah.
I mean they serve their purpose. They're fun party games.
Yeah. They're not something you're going to want to sit and play by yourself, though.
Yeah, that's true. But to close us out for this month in video game history and close us out for February, on February 3rd, 2000, Resident Evil Code Veronica is released for the Dreamcast. I never played this Resident Evil.
I don't think I did either.
It also came out for the GameCube and PS2.
No, you know what? I think I did play this on the GameCube at one point. I think I actually had this, but I didn't have it very long.
I do remember hearing about it, but but never played it.
It'd be nice if they.
I'm not too well versed in Resident Evil.
Yeah, well, they're doing a Resident Evil 3 remake, so I wonder if
Yeah.
they're going to do Code Veronica as well. I mean, I'm sure if Resident Evil 3 does well, they'll just keep going.
Yeah, if it does well and the audience wants it, why not?
Yeah, those Resident Evil games are good, especially the Resident Evil 2 remake was so good. Like it was that was exactly what they needed to do for a remake.
One day I'll sit down and play a Resident Evil
You
game.
should. But before we go into our review for tonight, Derek has some shout outs.
Yeah, so as always, we like to shout out our awesome Patreons over at patreon.com/nerdcaveretro. We want to shout out AxeBlade07, who's actually indirectly responsible for my review tonight. John Jekyll and Daniel Salmon. So thank you guys so much for keeping the lights on for us. As I said, if you want to be a part of our Patreon, you can head over to patreon.com/nerdcaveretro.
And tonight we're going to be talking about pretty good music for this game. I've never played this game. The music I went through on YouTube is great, and they have a playlist where they have each song for the game that's on a loop for like I think like an hour or something like that. I'm like, that's cool.
That's something that's so consistent with the Sonic games is just the music is 9 times out of 10 on point, and this game is absolutely no exception. I was actually very curious as to what you were going to pick because there's so many good songs to choose from.
Well, they had this one. They also had this
too.
Yeah.
Sonic Boom, which and I'll get into it in a second. But this week I will be reviewing Sonic the Hedgehog CD, commonly referred to as Sonic CD, which came out in 1993 for the Sega CD. I know we've talked a little bit about the additions to the Genesis, one of them being Sega CD, and a lot of those additions didn't really work, but this is by far the highlight because who would have thought that it would have created arguably the best 2D Sonic game ever made.
The Sega CD came out in 92
in
America, and October 15th of 1992. Wow, I thought it was way later than that.
So did I. Like the release date, honestly, of this game threw me off. I thought this game came out in like 95 or 96 because I actually didn't play it for the Sega CD because I never got the 32X or the CD, anything like that. This game was actually available for Windows.
Yeah.
And I played it that way.
Let's see, I didn't even experience the Sega CD until I think I was a senior in high school in '95, and I had a friend of mine that had it, and I remember he had just gotten it. Like, and we went over there for the weekend. I think I stayed the weekend at his house, and he had like 2 or 3 games with it. He had like Sewer Shark and crap. Why is the name leaving my head? The one that was all the controversy. Uh, the horror game that was ended up being kind of dumb, and it had the chick from Different Strokes in it.
Oh, what was it?
Why is it leaving my head? We talk about this game all the time.
The listeners are screaming at us
Yeah,
right
they're
now.
like yelling at me right now. You know what
But
I'm talking
I mean,
about.
I can't remember it either, but I know what you're talking
Oh,
about.
and the other one that had Corey Haim in it.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember the name of that one either. You go ahead. I'm gonna look that up real quick.
All right. So, Sonic CD, the story follows Sonic the Hedgehog as he attempts to save an extraterrestrial body, Little Planet, from Dr. Robotnik. So, this game, look-wise, is very similar to Sonic 2. If you go back and look at the original Sonic games, they play very similar, but the look is different for each of them. Like the graphics are enhanced a little bit, but this reminds me more of Sonic 2 than any of the other ones. And it plays like your typical Sonic platforming game. You go through your world, you collect rings, get to the end, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But the difference is there are different time periods that you can go to. You're in the present, and then you can travel to the past or to the future. You find these little signs throughout the course labeled past and future. So, for example, if you want to go to the past, you hit the past sign, and then you have to run at top speed for a few seconds. And then you're just blinded by this flash of light, and you're transported to the past.
Night Trap.
That's it. Night Trap.
Ah.
I can't wait to read the comments tomorrow.
That just shows that I'm getting my brain is starting to turn into Swiss cheese.
We all have our moments.
Yep.
I
Now I
fully
gotta
agree.
find the game that had what's his name, Corey Haim.
Corey Haim, yeah.
I mean, I wonder if I can do a Google search. Sega CD game with Corey Haim. Is that with an E or is it just RY?
I have no idea.
Come on, Google, don't fail me
Wait.
now. Double Switch, that was it.
That name I don't recognize.
You don't
actually.
remember Double Switch?
Mm-mm.
It was where he was like some kind of hacker in. Hold on, let me look up the. Let me the release for Sega CD. The game takes place in an apartment complex, which was built by the famous industrials. Blah blah blah, and he is basically. Eddie says that he has equipped the building with cameras and traps to protect the tenants from the local criminal element, but one of the tenants has locked him in the basement. He gives the player character control of the cameras and traps and directs him to protect the tenants, trap the handyman, Lyle, whenever possible, and find the security codes to get him out. I think I want to review this game.
I was about to say that sounds like an awesome review.
Yeah, I'm gonna find this game and can do a review of it.
You absolutely should.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to derail your thing.
You're good. You're good.
I got I got so focused on trying to remember freaking Night Trap.
What is this game? Oh, it's Night Trap.
It was physically hurting me that I couldn't remember the name of that game.
Oh man.
All right, back on track. All right.
Yeah, okay.
Here we go.
Okay, so Sonic CD. So you can go to the past or you can go to the future. The future, like the levels look essentially the same, but the texture is slightly different. So in the past, say there's more, everything's a little bit brighter, and there's more, like foliage and whatnot. In the future, everything's more mechanical because Robotnik has taken over the planet.
So this is still a side-scrolling 2D game, right?
Correct. Yeah, but they're just with the addition of the time travel aspect.
Ah.
But what you do is you can go to the past and find this machine that is starting to like remodel the world in Robotnik's image,
Huh.
so you can go and destroy it. But then to get the yeah, they're called time stones instead of chaos emeralds in this game. You have to finish a level with 50 or more rings. And this actually goes to one of my favorite special stages in the entire Sonic franchise. You're chasing a UFO through this designated course. But your progress is stopped like if you run through water or you hit some type of an obstacle. You catch the UFO, you get the time stone. And then if you collect all of them, then you get, the best ending possible.
I think I have seen gameplay of this that you're talking about,
Hmm.
but I've
And it's
never played this game though.
but it's something that you have to know in advance when you start playing this game, because when I started playing it again, I completely forgot about the machine that you have to destroy, and even the special stage, to be honest, because I remember getting 50 rings and hitting the star post, and I'm like, where's the little spinning ring that I jump into to try and get the time stone?
Yeah.
But then, I beat one of the stages with 50 or more rings, and then you start your special stage.
That
So,
sounds super familiar. I think I did play this before. That you talk about the ring that opens up until you go to the special stage. I have played this, but I don't remember when.
well, the ring where you go into a special stage, what I just described was from Sonic 2
Oh, yeah,
a-
well,
and Sonic 3.
okay.
Well, no, scratch that. Sonic 3 was a little bit different. You had to find the giant rings to
See,
jump
I
into.
apologize. I'm still relatively new to the whole Sonic world because I
No,
didn't grow
you're
up
good.
with a Genesis. And I played Sonic here and there from a couple of friends that I knew that had Genesis consoles growing up, but I was never a Genesis kid. I never played Genesis, and I didn't really get into the Sonic games until recently.
But this game, it takes that successful formula for the original games and adds just that little bit of an extra dynamic to it, like the new special stage, the addition of time travel, and also introduces the characters of Amy Rose and Metal Sonic, because people love them some Metal Sonic. And I actually didn't I was introduced to Metal Sonic and Amy Rose through the comic book,
Yeah.
because I had started collecting the old Archie series early on. Archie Comics is what originally made the Sonic comic book. I remember getting issue 2 in an old grocery store when I was a kid, back when grocery stores used to sell comic books.
I used to love when grocery stores sold comics.
And I had just started playing, I believe it was Sonic 2, and I saw this comic book, and of course, I had to have it. And the story was way different than the games, but I loved the story of the comic book, so I kept collecting it. And they would do game tie-ins for the comics. So like in issue 9, they introduced Knuckles and they adapted a little bit of the Sonic 3 storyline. Well, in issue 25, because that was a big accomplishment at that time, they adapted this game where they introduced Amy Rose and Metal Sonic.
Okay.
And it's essentially, and it has one of the cooler boss battles where you're essentially racing Metal Sonic in a world called Stardust Speedway. And then you rescue Amy at the end, and then you fight Robotnik, and you get your ending, depending on whether or not you collected all the time stones. So it doesn't differentiate that much from the Sonic formula, but it adds enough to make it quite a bit of fun. And this is one of the most critically and fan acclaimed Sonic games ever made. So it was originally released for the Sega CD, but it was also came out on Windows, GameCube, PlayStation 2, Android, PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, iOS, Windows Phone, how much people love this game. The fact that it keeps getting released over and over and over. I remember it came out for the Sonic Gems collection for the GameCube, because before you had the Sonic, I think, Mega Collection that had your classics like Sonic 1, 2, and 3, the more iconic games. And then the Gems collection had the more obscure games, like it had the Sonic Fighters game for arcade, had a lot of the Game Gear games, but their big selling point was Sonic CD, because I still have my copy because that was what I played leading up to the review of this, and it had both Sonic and Metal Sonic
Yeah.
on the cover.
I'm
But
gonna have to get this for GameCube.
I'm sure you can find both the Mega and Gems collection for a pretty good price, I would think. Because they have it at both Price Busters and at Trading Post here in town.
What
But
is it?
it's a cool. Oh, go ahead.
What is it called on the GameCube? Is it called Sonic CD?
It's called. It's the overall game is Sonic Gems Collection.
Sonic
But
Gems.
but when you go to select it on your menu, it's Sonic CD.
Okay, Sonic. Let me look this up. Let's see, Sonic.
But another cool thing about this game, we mentioned the music. This also had a fully animated opening sequence that had never been done with a Sonic game before. And it's in the style of the old school Japanese anime,
Yeah.
because it wasn't a few years after this, they actually released a Sonic movie that was animated in the style of like a 90s Japanese anime.
Huh.
It's not bad. I prefer most of the cartoon series to it, but it's still worth a watch if you're a Sonic fan.
If you want to
But I
get
remember
this on GameCube, you can actually pick it up right now on GameStop.com for it's pre-owned, of course, $14.99 plus shipping.
I think that's worth it
That's not bad.
because you've got quite a few games on it. Like I
Yeah.
said, you've got Sonic CD, you've got Sonic the Fighters. There are other games you can unlock too that are non-Sonic games. Like I remember unlocking Vector Man for that game. So I think it's definitely worth it.
Yeah, they got a bunch on eBay. Ooh, here's one that's like still in the wrapping, and it's $75. Eesh.
Yikes.
I
But no,
think you can-
back to the whole animated opening. I remember watching that for the first time on computer because I had played it for Windows and was just blown away by it, because it's one thing to play the game, but then when you see Sonic actually physically moving like in animated form,
Yeah.
and it just blew my mind. Like, oh, I need more Sonic stuff.
So what kind of animation was it? Is it like 2D animation or?
Yeah, it's like the old like hand drawn Japanese anime.
Oh, okay.
I'm sure you can find the opening sequence on YouTube, and it has the song Sonic Boom
Yeah.
attached to it. And there's an epilogue that's in full animation too, that has like a more mellow version of Sonic Boom.
Yeah.
So it was really cool to see back then. And this game definitely has its place in Sonic history, because it introduced, Amy Rose's.
I don't think
And
I've ever seen Metal Sonic.
I remember, so I mentioned Sonic Heroes. It might have been as soon as last week, which is not a very good game in my opinion. But as a cool twist, they brought back Metal Sonic as the main villain. And he was this huge, almost like Metal Sonic on steroids, called Metal Madness, where he was huge and was floating, in the air, and that was how you had to fight him as Super Sonic.
Yeah.
So it was, that part of the game was cool, but overall it was not a great game. But Sonic CD did receive, as I said, critical acclaim. The Sega CD version sold more than 1.5 million copies, making it the system's bestseller, and I would be willing to bet that it's probably not close with the other games. But Electronic Gaming Monthly gave it a 9, Electronic Games 92, Game Pro a 5 out of 5, Sega Pro 90%, and Entertainment Weekly
Hmm.
gave it an A minus. So people love Sonic fans love this game. Like it's talked about on the same level as a Sonic 2 or a Sonic 3. Like it's discussed in the upper tier of the 2D Sonic games. And I don't disagree with it. I don't have the same sentimental value that I have with like a Sonic 2 or a Sonic 3 because I played this game almost sparingly
Yeah.
in a way. But as I've gotten older and I've played it again, I do appreciate it. So I would say if you're a Sonic fan, you definitely have to have it in your collection. If you're gonna buy it, I would buy the Gems collection for the GameCube, so you get the Game Gear games and others along with it.
It
You know,
says
because
in
I'm
here.
not. Mhm.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I was reading here about some critics were divided over the change of soundtrack between the international and North American versions. Um, Game Fan, which had given the Japanese version of Sonic CD a perfect score of 100%, lambasted the North American version due to the change of soundtrack. Game Fan editor Dave Halverson called the change an atrocity that remains the biggest injustice in localization history. The reviewer for Games Radar claimed to have shut his GameCube off in disgust when he realized Sonic Gems collection used the American soundtrack. In a 2008 interview, Nielsen said, "I think critics were looking for a way to bash the game. It was like we replaced the music for Star Wars after the movie had been out for a while."
Yeah, I think shutting your GameCube off in disgust is a little extreme.
Yeah.
See, I actually didn't know that there was a difference in soundtracks. I'll have to see if I can find both versions on YouTube just to compare the two. I mean, for me, it's like I didn't know that, so it didn't take away from the experience for me. I
Yeah.
personally love the soundtrack to this game.
And I don't know if there are too many Sega CD add-ons that are still working to this day that you could go back
Yeah,
and actually play the original Sega CD version.
yeah. You'd be hard pressed to find a Sonic game that doesn't have good music.
Yeah.
Like I would. One day I'll have to compile a list of like my favorite Sonic songs because I know some of them you can find on Spotify, but as like with the Sonic movie coming out and me kind of going through a Sonic phase, I've found myself listening to the soundtracks, especially to the old games. Those soundtracks are great
Yeah.
throughout all three of the original games, in my opinion. Even some of them from Sonic and Knuckles are good too.
Yeah. I always
But
enjoy, like, even if you only played it once or twice, you had that, it's very easy to recall the Sonic music.
hmm no, I 100% agree with that. But I'm trying to think of what I would give this game because I don't want to knock it too much, but I wouldn't give it like the 9.5 that most people would give.
Yeah.
I would say I'd give it a solid 8.
It's not
You know,
bad.
it's definitely a very fun Sonic game. I love the time travel aspect of it. It adds a new challenge to that traditional Sonic formula,
Yeah.
and the character of Metal Sonic is really cool. But again, I didn't grow up with it. I didn't grow up with the same attachment that a lot of other people did.
Yeah.
But I do very much enjoy it. It's definitely up there as far as best Sonic games ever made.
That's
So
cool. I might keep an eye out for this and pick it up if I come across it at the local retro game store.
you should. The Gems collection and even the Mega collection is definitely worth it.
So I'm definitely into collecting for my GameCube at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to get back into collecting more, but I'm also like really trying to save money.
Yeah, same here. I've been into collecting board games lately. I've been going
I
to
saw
the
that on Twitter.
yeah, I have a bunch of like thrift stores and Goodwill, like this really big Goodwill store that just opened up around the corner from my house. There's a thrift store that's like across the street from kind of catty corner from where we are, and it's pretty big. So I actually went in there last week and um, I found brand new versions of Sorry, Battleship, and Clue, and I got them all three of those for $6.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and then I found Mario Kart Monopoly on clearance at GameStop for $14. I was like, yes,
Wow.
sweet.
Yes. I haven't played a board game in forever.
Hey, board games are fun.
They are, especially if you get a group of people.
Oh yeah,
Back when I went through a board game phase, I loved playing Risk.
yeah. I haven't played Risk in decades, man. I remember we used to play Risk all the time back when I was in early years of high school.
But that's one that you got to set aside a night for that because
Oh yeah.
you're gonna be playing for a while.
Sometimes it's the whole weekend, and you're taking up
Yeah,
the entire dining room table.
yeah. There are some games of Risk that just will not stop,
Yeah.
but it's such a fun game. But yeah, overall, that's my thoughts on Sonic CD. It's definitely up there as far as the good 2D Sonic games. If you're a Sonic fan, chances are you already have it in your collection. But if you don't, you got to get it. It's very good.
Fantastic. Well, before we leave here tonight, Derek, I'll let you go down the list of what we're going to be doing this weekend. And like I said, by the time this drops, you have about 24 hours before the official start of Pensacon 2020, and let everybody know where we're going to be.
So between the two of us, we are doing 9 panels throughout the entire weekend,
Nine
which is
times.
9.
Nine.
So yours truly is going to get things literally like this is going to be one of the first panels of the convention. So Friday, February 28th, I'm kicking things off at the Rex Theater at 1:30 p.m. I will be moderating the Q&A for Catherine Sutherland, who was the second Pink Power Ranger of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers and former Derek Diamond Experience guest. And then fast forward to 5:15 at the Pensacola Little Theater, I'll be moderating the Q&A for WWE Hall of Famer Diamond Dallas Page,
Yeah.
which is like top 3 panel that I'm looking forward to. Like I've wanted to meet DDP since 1998. So this is going to be hopefully I don't make a complete idiot out of myself.
Yeah, don't ask him anything stupid or he'll pull a diamond cutter on you on stage.
That would actually be hilarious.
Ask him what gave him diarrhea last year.
I should ask him why he wasn't here. Like, did you, for some wild reason, decide to eat Taco Bell?
Yeah. Either that or he had a bad Cinnabon at the airport.
I feel like Cinnabon would probably kill him.
Yeah, or Sparrow.
Or Cinnabon would probably kill either one of us too. Like Cinnabon
Yeah, I
would
think
kill a
so.
lot of
If I
people.
ate a Cinnabon right now, I would probably go into diabetic shock.
I wouldn't eat for a week.
Yeah, I would instantly become diabetic if I ate one.
But all joking aside, I'm really looking forward to the D panel. It should be a
I
lot
would
of
be
fun.
too. That's great.
Yeah.
Shut up, dogs. Can you hear that? Those stupid
yes,
dogs next door.
They're excited for the DDP panel too. February 29th, that Saturday, you will be doing the What Should Be Canon in Star Wars panel at the Grand Hotel Room B at 1:30 p.m. Really excited to watch that. And then we'll both be on the panel for Stephen King film and TV adaptations, again at Grand Hotel Room B at 5:15, which I'm hoping that Steve Wise, who we've both talked about on this podcast, he's supposed to be on the panel. And I'm going to carve out some time because I was telling you off here, I've got a funny video that I want to make and send to you and to him.
Yeah.
I know you'll get a kick out of it. I'm sure he will too, just because it's knocking him. But then, Jason, right after that, 6:30 p.m., prime time spot at Pensacon, Grand Hotel Room B, Defending Bad Movies 2: The Revenge.
Yes.
If you can make it out to like 3 panels this entire weekend, this needs to be one of them.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be, I'm going to be moderating. It'll be you, Wally, Brandon Rutledge, who is super fan of the Nerd Cave Retro Show, and Nathan Simmons, who will be sitting on. I'm not sure if Julio is going to be on the panel or not.
Oh, I hope he is.
I hope he is too. I know he listed himself as going on the event, so I'm
hopefully.
hoping that he is, because he's one of the originals. He's
Yeah.
got to be up there. I know he's got a lot more responsibilities with Pensacon now, but I know if he can be there, I'm sure he will be.
Yeah.
But long story short, I'm gonna pull at random bad movie titles out of a hat, and we have to say nothing but good things about them.
Which is not easy to do.
And if they fail to, they will get buzzed and they can't talk until I draw another name out.
Yeah.
And I've got a more effective buzzer system now, so
awesome.
I will not be as lenient with the buzzer this time. and as I said at the top of the show, the magic number is 80.
Yeah. It's a lot of bad movies.
and then and then to wrap things up, on March 1st at 11 a.m., again at Grand Hotel Room B, we'll be doing our Nerd Cave Retro panel where we're talking about the Mario Brothers franchise. That will be me, you, and Mr. Wally Phelps. And then at 2:45 p.m. at the Sanger Meeting Room, I'll be moderating the Q&A for boxing legend Butterbean. So I could get a diamond cutter and get my face knocked off this entire weekend if I don't.
Yes.
If I'm not, if I'm an idiot during these panels, I will just get physically destroyed. And then at 4:00, you and Wally will be again at Grand Hotel Room B talking about the Star Wars sequel trilogy, which should be a lot of fun. And then to close things out, I'm opening and closing Pensacon with celebrity panels, which is interesting. At Pensacola Little Theater, I'll be moderating the Q&A panel for Dee Wallace, who most people will know as the mom from E.T.
And the mom from Cujo.
Yes. Yes. So a lot of fun stuff. And after the review and listing off the panels, I am tired.
Yes. Imagine how you're going to feel Sunday evening.
Oh my God. I said this to Wally on Twitter. I've already made plans with a hot bath after Pensacon's over. Like as soon as I get home, I am filling up my tub with some scalding hot water and I'm just going to lay in it for half an hour.
And think, you only have to drive like 5 minutes. I have to drive almost 2 hours after everything's done.
That's true.
That's not.
That is very
fun.
True.
But
I'm sure you'll sleep very well.
I'm super excited for this weekend. So if you're listening to this, please come to Pensacon. If not, we're sorry you can't make it this year. But you know, if you live far away or you know you're out of the country, try to make plans for next year. It's always in February. It's always the weather's always nice. If you get, there's always hotel rooms available within 5 minutes of the convention center. Like I said, I got my hotel like 3 weeks ago and got it a mile or two away, like less than 5 minutes away from the convention center. So there's always hotel rooms available. It's book your flights now for next year, and because there's always good guests, there's always stuff to do. The whole city turns into Pensacon, so you're missing out on one of the best conventions in the country. So if you can't make it this year, please try to make it next year.
And for this year, if you aren't able to make it, I am going to record a few of these panels that we'll use as podcast episodes. Like the Nerd Cave Retro one, I'm going to record, and then the Defending Bad Movies and Stephen King, I will record as well. So if you're not able to make it, you'll get a little taste of what Pensacon is like.
Yeah.
But all in all, it should be fun. I'm really excited to, do all this stuff. I'm excited to hang out with you and Wally all weekend.
Absolutely.
So it should be a really fun time.
Well, I think that's going to bring us up to the end of the show. So, anything else you want to throw out there before we leave this evening?
As I mentioned at the beginning of the show, check out the Derek Diamond Experience. If you're listening to this the day that Nerd Cave Retro comes out, you can finish this episode and then go check out my conversation with Cindy Morgan, star of Tron and Caddyshack, as well as my chat with you about
Yes.
the original Tron film and other cool 80s movies from that time frame. And then I'll be waiting a week to release Defending Bad Movies because I want to release that as episode 250.
Fantastic.
Because this upcoming episode will be 248. And then for 249, I'm going to review the Sonic movie. And then 250 will be Defending Bad Movies. And then get this, after that is the 6-year anniversary of that show.
6 years. I was thinking the other day, like this, this year marks 8 years that I've been podcasting.
That's insane.
It's been a long time.
I think it's going to be 7 for me because we started Nerd Cave in May of 2013.
And I was actually thinking of, just as a Patreon only exclusive, I was actually, because it's not available anywhere, I was thinking about going and releasing the very first podcast that me and Wally ever did as
I
the
would
Broke
love to hear that.
Nerdcast. So I was thinking about maybe releasing that just as Patreon only release, and the next, to commemorate 8 years podcasting for me.
I would love to hear that because I never heard the original episode because I remember you guys had changed the show to the Dark Quarter.
Mm-hmm.
And I listened to the last, I think, couple of episodes of that, and then, I was really introduced to you through, Pop Culture Palette.
Yeah, because we went. I think we did like 72 episodes of Broke Nerdcast, then we did 120 or so of Pop Culture Palette, and then of course we were doing We started the Nerd Cave Retro show about a year or two before Pop Culture Palette ended, and so I've done 3 very long shows in my 8 years of podcasting.
Yeah, because this would be, I think, episode 168.
Mm-hmm. We're getting up there. We're almost at 200. We're going to hit 200. Is it this year we're going to hit 200?
I'd have to do the math real quick. It might be towards the end of the year.
We're going to have to do something super special for 200.
It'll either be that or like very early 2021.
Yeah, I think so.
Speaking of celebrations, Survey just needs one more festival to make 50.
Almost. It's crazy.
Gets the notification that it hits 50 because I would have a confetti gun and I would just shoot it in the air and just be really obnoxious about it.
We just need to go to his house with those little confetti, little things that you pull, and as he answers the door, we just hit him in the face with confetti.
That would give him a heart attack.
Yeah. Oh man.
But no, a lot of good stuff happening and on the horizon. So, and even for the first time, I think since November, the Parker Syndrome got a selection.
Fantastic. Yeah, I saw something got added the other day, and I kind of been laying a little low on social media lately. I'm trying to. A lot of personal stuff's been going on lately, so I've just been avoiding social media. But I won't be avoiding social media this weekend. If you want to follow me and all my shenanigans at Pensacon this weekend, just follow me on Twitter at JFunktastic and Instagram at JFunktastic. I'm pretty sure I'll be posting a lot on those 2 platforms because I'll be honest, I think I'm about 2 seconds away from deleting my Facebook account.
Yeah, I really only use it to plug like this show and
that's all I ever use it for.
And the Parker Syndrome.
I might just change it over to what do they call it? Not a celebrity account, but like a whatever.
I know what you're talking about, but I can't remember the actual term for it.
It's something like that, where it's like an actual page, like make a comedian page for me, and then just completely just get rid of my personal page because I don't want to deal with it anymore, ever.
It's a lot of toxic stuff going on.
It is. But yeah, I'm ready to go ahead and call it a show because it's getting late and I'm so ready to hit Pensacon. And
I am too.
man, I'm only 2 more sleeps till Pensacon.
2 more sleeps.
2 more
till
sleeps.
Pensacon.
But that's about it. Let me go ahead and pull up our notes here, and I will play our music. If you would like to email us, you can email us at nerdcaveretro@gmail.com. We're at nerdcaveretro.com